Hey y'all, N4H here with the amateur contact log from N3FJP. Some of you have been watching the channel a while. You know that I switched over last year to this logging program. I had tried it out years ago and I really liked it. I just thought I wanted rig control, so I went to Ham Radio Deluxe, but I decided to go back to this one. I find it far more, let me see, what's the word I should say, powerful. You know, it's got a lot of functions for straight logging that I didn't get with Ham Radio Deluxe. It doesn't have rig control as in controlling the knobs and buttons on the radio, but hey, you know, I'm a knob guy and button guy anyway, so I just as soon touch the radio. But I want to show you something you can do, and it has to do with frequency. Okay, so let me zoom in. Right there, you see 28400? Now, I'm not going to touch the radio. I'm touching the control key on my keyboard, and I'm touching the up arrow on my keyboard. And look at that. Up arrow takes you up in frequency, and down arrow would take you down in frequency. And left and right are involved as well. You can see that it's more coarse increments with left and right. I'm holding the control key. All right, so let me get back down to even 400 there. Okay, so control up arrow on the keyboard. Look at that. Now I'm holding control and I'm hitting the down arrow on the keyboard. Now I'm going to hold control and hit the left arrow. You see it gets a little more coarse and goes down. So control left arrow goes down, control right arrow goes up. Control up is up, but more fine. Now let me get back down to 400 and show you something else. And I'm just hitting the control down arrow here. All right, now I'm going to hold control shift and up, and you see it 10 hertz increments. Control shift, and down would be, you know, going down in 10 hertz increments. Now I'm holding control and shift and left arrow, and control shift with right arrow. So I just thought, you know, I'd show you that you can do that incremental frequency control. And trust me, it's doing it on the radio too. Let me pan over to the big monitor there so you can see the FTDX10, which is what I'm controlling right now with this. I'm holding control up arrow, control down arrow, control left, control right, back to control left. Now I'm going to hold control shift up, control shift down, see, down again, now back up, and now control shift left arrow, control shift right arrow, control shift right arrow again. So basically, you know, you've got fine and coarse tuning increments by doing it that way. Now, how is that working? Well, you do have to enable something in the menu, so let me show you. I'm going to bring up the setting menu here. So up here at the top where you see settings, rig interface, and I've covered this in a previous video about this unit. I would suggest, you know, watching videos in my logging playlist here on YouTube if you want to check out more about this. But what you do is you get it set up where it communicate with your radio, and that's how it's able to control the radio. And when you're logging, that's how it's able to pick up the frequency and band and all that kind of thing. All right, so there's an option here. I'm going to zoom in that you need to check, and it's right here. Enable control key keyboard tuning. Now, I optionally also check this one, invert keyboard tuning up, down, plus, minus. So I was, you know, I mentioned to you, I was very deliberate in why I said that. I was holding control up to go higher in frequency, control down to go lower in frequency, you know, for the up and down arrows, by the way. And the reason I click the invert is because if you don't, control up arrow is going to go down in frequency, and control down arrow is going to be going up in frequency, and that just didn't make sense to me. So I checked that box as well. You have to have those two enabled, and you of course have to have it set up for rig interface to your radio. In this case, it's FTDX10. And you know, down here in the lower left, I showed in the previous video, so I won't go into detail. But I've got a, I've got all the settings set up here to communicate with the radio, and I've saved those as files. And I've got one for the FTDX 5000 and one for the FTDX 10 right here. So if I want to, when I change back to the 5000, I'll load this one. Right now I'm using the one for the FTDX 10. So again, down here in the lower left, you can switch between radios if you happen to switch radios. All right, and I'm gonna click done. So now I've shown you how to do it with the control keys and what makes that work. Let me show you something else. I'm gonna do Control F, and it brings up that nice dialogue or pop up there. Let me get where you can see it all. Now, you got several different things you can do here. You can directly type a frequency in and hit send to the radio. That means send to the radio. You can change bands, and it'll go to whatever the last frequency was that you used on that band, frequency mode. You got 10 memories you can, and by the way, modes here, you can change mode here. You got 10 memories, so you can put in frequently used frequencies you like to go to a lot, your favorite nets, or like for me, I've got 7062, popular frequency for summits on the air activators when I chase them. You know, you might have a rag chew frequency in there you go to. Here's a summits on the air frequency, CW of course, for 20 meters. Here's another summits on the air popular frequency for sideband. So just put in some of your favorites. Now let me use one of these. I'll click on the one for 28400, 10 meters. It's hot right now, very hot. So I'm going to click on that. 28400. There it is. Now I'm going to click back over to, I'm going to do Control F again, and I'm going to click another one of those memories. I'll go to memory 6, which is going to take me to 18092. Did you hear the amp click? Now I'm going to go back to Control F, and I'm going to click 28400 again. Here's a little thing you got to be mindful of. I'm going to go back to Control F, and I'm going to click memory 10, which I put in 296. Now that's going to be FM. That's the FM calling frequency for 10 meters. But watch what happens. It changes the frequency, but it does not change the mode to FM. It's a big band, and you know, basically it looks like this thing's reasoning out according to where you are within each band, what frequency to go to. But I discovered here on 10 meters, it doesn't understand that 296 is necessarily FM. But I'm just going to go back. Let me pan back over here to this screen, and I'm going to do Control F again, and you'll see right there is FM. So now I can press. Let me turn the volume up. So right now it's on USB. I'm going to click FM, and you can tell, you can hear it went to FM. And so over here on the radio, big monitor, you see there, it's on mode FM. So 10 meters is acting that way, okay? By the way, those of you who use the band stack registers, you know, there's 3 per band on this radio, do realize that it is working with one band stack register in each band, you know, whatever the last one was that you used. So it is changing it in case you've got some band stack registers that you like to keep honed in on certain places. This is going to take one of those band stack registers and use it as it makes these frequency changes. Now I can tell you right now that I have 2 band stack registers, both with 29.6 in there right now. As a matter of fact, let me show you. I'm going to double tap my band button. I have an older version of firmware I can do this. If you have a newer FTDX10, newer firmware, you will press band and function. I can do that too. And there's 28035, that is CW. There's 29.6. And there's 29.6 again. I'm double tapping my band button. I wish they would put that back in these radios. I've asked, but alas, Yaesu doesn't listen, I guess. So back, double tapping. So that was the band stack right there that I had set for 28.400. But I'll just bring up this. I'm just going to do it and let you watch. I'm going to bring up Control F, and I'm clicking memory 8 that where I keyed in 28.400. And see, now it's back on 28400, and it went to USB. It just doesn't automatically change to FM when you go to 29.6. Just a little something you got to be mindful of there. But in most cases it will. Watch this. I'm going to go to, I'm Control F now, and I'm going to go to 18092, and it automatically went to CW. So back over here so you can see this dialogue again. Control F. All right. So I was just clicking these memory buttons. You key in whatever you want to key in there. Like I say, favorite rag chew, favorite nets, chasing soda, POTA, whatever you want to do. Favorite frequencies, 10 of them. And then there's a little checkbox here for close on action. That when I click this, it closes this dialogue, you know, and then tells the radio where I want to go. So let me show you this up here. Frequency in the very top is a blank. So you can key in, like I'm going to put in 28.390. And then I'm just going to click send to the radio. And indeed, the radio is now on 28.390, and it's set for USB. Now here, there's somebody talking. I'm a little off from them. I can hit Control Shift up arrow. See, that is smaller increments, so I'm going to go right arrow. And there he is. He's on 28.391. So I'm just using Control Shift right arrow to go up. Control Shift left arrow will go down. All right. Let me pan back over to the big monitor and Control F again. So again, you can directly type a frequency here, hit send to radio. That's what that means. You can just simply change bands and it'll go back to the frequency you were last using on that band. Now, you guys who own the FTDX10, this is a really cool thing here because you know how it is. I've asked Yaesu now for 3 years to allow us to right click over the megahertz in our display. Let me simulate that. So right here is megahertz. Watch this mouse here. All right. See, if I click that, it'll blink, but I have to turn the VFO to make any changes. The mouse wheel does nothing on my version. This is an older version firmware. If you've got a newer version firmware, you can click that. And when I say newer version, the one that came out, I believe in August 1st of 2023, they finally added a feature I had been asking for since 2021, where you can now click that and use your mouse wheel to change frequency. And I'm using my knob because I didn't, whoops, there you go. You can see it's changing in its course. It is very coarse. But you guys, if you load the new firmware, which to me, that wasn't a big enough deal for me to want the new firmware. This radio has been flawless for 3 years. I don't update unless I have to. Plus, if I do update, I lose my double tap of band to change band stack registers, and I really like that. But there you go. The deal is we have to click band to bring up, I'm going to tap band on my radio. I have to tap band to bring that up to change band. So I got to get my finger, let me pan down to the radio. I got to get my finger in between, boy, I'm going to zoom way in here, in between the function knob and the outer dial. I got to get into that band button right there to change bands. And so that's a bit annoying. I got used to it, I'll be honest with you, so I'm okay. But for you guys who are using N3FJP amateur contact log, you can use Control F and bring this up and say, hey, I want to go to 40 meters. You don't have to touch that button on the radio. So that saves you, if you fat fingered, you know, it saves you from having to get in there and do that. Again, just from your keyboard, Control F. Want to go to 20 meters? There you go. Again, Control F. So we can type a frequency in here, any frequency in megahertz now. Okay, megahertz. Hit send to radio. Change bands, change modes, and you can load 10 favorites in here, whatever you want to put in. And remember, like I showed you earlier, most of the time it'll figure out by the frequency what mode to use, except 10 meters. I've noticed, you know, you got to, when you want to switch from USB to FM, the frequency alone doesn't let it know. So when I went from 28.4 to 29.6, I had to tell it to switch over to FM. That's the recap of that. Now I want to show you one other thing that you can do related to frequency. This is going to be counterintuitive, and that's why I want to show you this. You can click in the call field now, and type in, I'm going to put in 14.250. I'm typing into the call field. Yes, over there on the left, mid left. And I'm going to hit the enter key on the keyboard, and it transfers that to the frequency here in the log as well as to the radio. See that? 14.250. So again, let me do that again, show you. This time I'll click in call, and I'm going to go to 7.175 and hit enter. You heard the amplifier change bands, and over here you see 7.175, and of course the log is showing 7.175 right there. And you know what, I'm going to give you a bonus on this video. Here's one other thing you can do to control frequency. You see down here I've got the DX cluster running. Let's say I spot somebody I want to work. All right, I'll just grab this one here, Paraguay. Click on it. It brings up his image from QRZ. I've got it set up for that. If you are a member of QRZ, you can go in there. I've shown in another video how to set that up. Brings up the image. I can hit done, or I could click go to QRZ and see all about that station. Loads him ready to be logged in the screen here. His name is Daniel. I notice up here in the top, I've never worked him before because there's no entries. It also tuned the radio to the frequency that he is spotted for. And you'll see it up there also in the log. So I'll click another one down here. Here's Italy on, no, I missed him. Madeira Island, 14.316. Brings up the image. See right here, I could go to QRZ and actually view his QRZ page, or hit done and make the image go away. Again, I've never worked this station either. He's in the Azores. It must be a club. It says over here in the name, Azores something. The Azores, and I don't know the rest. It's cut off there. The Azores, Finland, something. Okay, probably an DXpedition. So there you go. Clicking in the DX cluster will also, look over here at the radio, loads the frequency into the VFO. All right, so you can change frequency with control up arrow, down arrow, control left, right, control shift up, down, control shift left, right, and that's going to give you more coarse tuning. And you can control F, directly key it in. Okay. Change bands, change modes, 10 of your favorites programmed in, and all you got to do is click the button and it'll go there. I'm going to go to 28. I'll go to 24.950. There we go. You heard the click, the amplifier change bands, and over here on the radio you will see 24.950. All right, and control F. There we go. Remember this though, if you're fat fingered and you don't like having to get your finger into that band button between the outer dial and the function knob, you can just control F and change bands right there with these buttons. Really cool for a logging program to be doing all this, and everything about this is intuitive except keying in a frequency and hitting enter. That's not intuitive, so I'm going to put in 3.856, enter. Boom, you'll see the frequency change there in the log, and the frequency changed over here on the radio itself. Now I would never run AMP1. I always run IPO, and I would run, let's see, 12 dB of attenuation on that band. It's not going to do all that for you, but it will control the frequency. All right, I hope you found the video helpful and informative. Please do me a favor, hang around another half a minute. I want to recognize 5 of the Patreon team long haulers, as I call them, because quite honestly, without them, you wouldn't be watching this video or, well, videos in general on this channel. I wouldn't have been able to survive the first year or two doing this, because I was going in the hole financially trying to do it. Without the backup of these people, financial support from them, I couldn't afford the cameras and the editing tools and the video storage, cloud storage, and all of that kind of stuff that goes into this. So without them, you wouldn't be watching this video. So I want to acknowledge 5 of those Patreon team long haulers. And these are people who have substantially supported the channel for a year or two, and I've got a few now that have been supporting the channel for over 3 years. And there are perks for them. There's a lot more content over on the Patreon space. There are a few videos available on YouTube, but the rest are over on Patreon. Plus, I write articles, I do news. There's all kind of other content over on the Patreon space. And the ones who support the channel on a yearly basis as what I call an S7 or an executive, they can request one of my menu optimizations documents. I've got 6 so far for 6 different radios that I've featured on the channel, and they can request one of those. S9 members that sign up for annual, that is a pay for a year, have access to all 6 of those. And I have 2 documents I've written for how to set up the one for the FT710, one for the FTDX10, how to set them up for FT8. And they have access to a video for the FTDX 101, how to set it up for FT8 operation. All right, hey, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out my website. I have a website. It's N3FJP.com. There are t-shirts and hats there, some training material. Some of the sayings that I've said on the channel, you'll find them available on t-shirts and hats. That also helps out the channel and will help me continue to be able to produce content like this. So again, hey, hang around please for a half minute and let me acknowledge 5 of the Patreon team long haulers. 73 from N4H&H.